What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OGGM, 8 o'clock in the morning here at Site B at the 6th day of December 2022. About 60 degrees and sunny. Apparently the bomb cyclone has passed us by, though we have been informed we were getting another one in a couple days. All right, what's going on in the tabletop role-playing game news that doesn't have anything to do with Wizards of the Coast? Sadly, not much. After the bombshell yesterday of the leak of the new OGL, the Twitterverse and the RPG gaming world is in a turmoil. People are scared, people are afraid, people are angry, people have questions, people do not know how to respond to this leak. Multiple attorneys have already been asked on and have commented on it. Even Ryan Dancy, the father of the OGL, has finally spoken up. The only groups who haven't spoken up is Wizards of the Coast yet. So we're going to be talking about the big news. If this is a topic that upsets you, just letting you know now. So far, no one has stood up and said, yes, this is a good idea. Even the pro Wizards of the Coast 5e crowd has not said, oh, yeah, this is a great idea. Defund the public. Yeah. Everybody jump upon. Yeah. No, I haven't seen any yet. But it's still early, so some of the remaining 5e shallow end commenters might still say, oh, yeah, this is a great idea. I don't know. A lot of companies are having 5th edition sales. They're selling off all their 5e content. They don't want to have anything to do with 5e. Troll Lords Games is having a huge sale of everything they've made for 5th edition. They now want to just focus all their attention on Castles and Crusades. Is this a good idea? This is a bad idea. I don't know. I don't know if companies should go, screw you, Wizards of the Coast, I'm not making any more 5e product, or they should go, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of this for as long as I can until Wizards of the Coast says I can't, and make as much money as I can off of 5e. The only problem is, according to the leak, there might be a grandfather backwards compatible thing in the leak, where Wizards of the Coast could apparently say, no, you made money 10 years ago off of our content, so now, in the process of taking it away, we're also expect you to pay royalties for stuff you made 10 years ago because you were using our stuff. Can they do that? According to the attorneys that have spoken up so far, they don't think so. Probably not. But again, who knows? Law and sausages, neither of which you should ever see made. So yes, here's the first, but I expect many others. If you support third-party content and want to pick up some real cheat stuff for your game, Troll Lords Games is having a huge sale on OGL D20 5e content as they continue to focus mostly on Castles and Crusades. Castles and Crusades is getting a lot of free press over the last 24 hours, and more people are saying, screw you, I'm only going to play Castles and Crusades. Screw you, I'm switching my party over to Castles and Crusades. Screw you, I'm only giving money to Castles and Crusades. So great free advertising. But speaking of free advertising, let's face it, the leak from a respectable source eventually traces back to Wizards of the Coast. So somewhere you've got to wonder if Wizards of the Coast leaked this on purpose so they could start the fear mongering. And then on Monday, they could release a statement where they're going to say, oh, no, that was leaked, but we didn't actually say that. Here's the real one, and you can see it's not as bad as you thought. So come back to Wizards of the Coast. We're not as bad as you think. So did they leak this on purpose? I mean, let's face it, they've got a ton of free advertising in the last 24 hours from the tabletop role-playing game community. Everybody is going, how dare you, Wizards of the Coast? But what the algorithm is hearing is blah, 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 Wizards of the Coast. And that's free advertising. Let's face it, it is. Even if it's negative free advertising, as Eric Bischoff said, controversy equals cash. Speaking of cash, I'm drinking coffee. And a reminder that this is a monetized and sponsored video. This is coffee from my sponsor, Kuso Coffee. More on them later. Thank you for sending me more. Coffee. What am I going to do? I mean, small press publishers like me. Obviously, I am going to continue to talk about Wizards of the Coast news. But when I talk about stuff like the OSR or talks about stuff like 1D&D, because it should be getting close to the next chapter of 1D&D, I will still review it. What I will do is I will not monetize those videos. Instead, I will ask if you appreciate the content I'm making and the amount of work I'm doing to cover the Wizards of the Coast news without taking any money, that you donate to my Ko-Fi or my Patreon. Buy the OGGM a sandwich so he can continue to talk about 1D&D without monetizing and making money for Wizards of the Coast. All right, so let's go to the father of the OGL himself, the man who wrote it, Ryan Dancy. Of course, tons of people are going, what's Ryan going to say? What's Ryan going to say? What's Ryan going to say? Ryan Dancy, am I pronouncing your name right? Probably not. Is the man who wrote the original OGL and the man who fought for it time and time again. So let's see what the architect says. Ryan Dancy, Hasbro cannot deauthorize the previous OGL. So the big thing, of course, is that in the leak, amongst many other things, it says the previous OGL 1.0 and 1.0A are going to be deauthorized. Once the new one comes into existence, the old one, well, you can't make stuff under the old one anymore. So you cannot make content that supports 3 and 3.5 or 5. 4 is a completely different beast because they tried to do something else with 4. So I don't know how this is going to affect 4th edition, because most of the information seems to regard to third-party creators who are making 5e content, or third-party creators who made product during the original OGL following 3 and 3.5, like Mutants and Masterminds, or even Castles and Crusades, the original OGL OSR. How does this affect them? 4 sort of has been forgotten, but I think the general opinion of Wizards of the Coast these days is, yeah, 4 never happened. It was 3 and 5. I don't know what you're talking about. 4? We never made a 4th edition. Yeah. Hey, people, it's T-shirted historian. This guy's actually somebody important. Hey, T-shirted historian. And it's Cal. Hey, Cal, what's up, buddy? All right, so let's see what Ryan says. We reached out to the architect of the original OGL license, former VP of Wizards of the Coast, Ryan Dancy, and asked his opinion about the current plan by Wizards of the Coast to deauthorize the current OGL in favor of a new one. Reminder again, this is a leak. So far, Wizards of the Coast has not taken any credit for it, and so far, Wizards of the Coast has not said, no, we didn't say this. There is already some speculation that Wizards of the Coast released this on purpose, so when Monday rolls around after a weekend of fear-mongering, they can go, oh no, that was a leak. We didn't read that out. Here's what we really said. And look, it's not as bad. Come back. Ryan responded as follows. Yes, in my public opinion, is that Hasbro does not have the power to deauthorize a version of the OGL. If it had that power that we wanted to reserve for Hasbro, we would have enumerated in the license. I am on record in numerous places, in email, in blogs, and interviews, saying that the license could never be revoked. Ryan also maintains the Open Gaming Foundation. Link down below. Can't Wizards of the Coast change the license in a way that I wouldn't like? Yes, it could. However, the license already defines what will happen to the content that has been previously distributed using an earlier version. In Section 9, as a result, even if Wizard makes changes you disagree with, you could continue to use an earlier acceptable version at your option. In other words, there's no reason for Wizards to ever make a change that the community of people using the OGL would object to, because the community would just ignore the change anyways. This is very important. The wording in Section 9 says, if you don't like the current OGL, you can just make content over 1.0 and 1.0A. Several attorneys have already posted on this. You can go to the rules lawyer. He's did a whole article about it. There is some fear-mongering going around that Wizards of the Coast is actively attacking people who are posting on this topic and having them taken down. So like I made a video about this yesterday, and there's a rumor floating around that Wizards of the Coast could try and take that down. Is that true? Well, it was still up this morning, but we'll see. So here is the OGL as originally posted. January 26, 2004. God, we were so young. This can be found on the Open Gaming Foundation. So that is what Ryan has to say. So let's go into more detail. Based upon the other things we've seen, blah, 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 blah. All right. So the rumor is there's going to be two OGLs, the commercial OGL and the non-commercial OGL. The original OGL will become unauthorized. This hinges on the wording of Section 9 of the current OGL. Updating the license. Wizards or design agents may publish updated versions of the license. You may use any authorized version of this license to copy, modify, or distribute an open game content originally distributed under any version of the license. So again, what this is saying is you can still use OGL 1.0 and we can't come after you. Roll for Combat posted the following summary. It's unclear that this is their own paraphrasing or that this is the anonymous source or indeed the actual document, although nobody's seen the actual document. We've only seen a copy of a copy. This agreement, along with the OGL non-commercial, is an update of the previously available OGL 1.0, which no longer an authorized license agreement. We can modify or terminate this agreement for any reason whatsoever, provided we give 30 days notice. We will provide notice of any such changes by posting the revision on our website and by making public announcements through our social media channels. You own the new and original content you create. You agree to give us a non-exclusive, perpetual, irrevocable, worldwide sublicense and royalty-free license to use the content for any purpose. You waive any rights to sue over our decision on these issues. We are aware that if someone stretches our decision and what is not objectionably under these clauses too far, we will receive community pushback and bad PR, and we're more than open to being convinced that we made the wrong decision. But nobody gets to use the threat of lawsuit as part of an attempt to convince us. Wow, really? I don't think that's what they said. Now, of course, the Wizards of the Coast can use the OGL, but the question is, will I be able to make OGL content after this thing becomes official, which we're hearing is the 13th. However, Linda over at Gizmodo got a hold of the current draft of the OGL 1.1, and this is what they have to say. It's long. It's 10 times the length of the current OGL at 9,000 words. No, it prohibits NFTs and bigoted content. So that was the very first thing that stood out to me because, one, that's not how crypto mining works, and two, the bigoted content. So basically this gives Wizards of the Coast an open gun to say, oh, somebody found your content objectionable, Peso. You need to take it down because it's using the OGL. Also, it prohibits apps and video games and pantomimes, i.e. cosplay. So, yeah, VTTs can't use the OGL anymore. You can't play Dungeons & Dragons on Roll20. You can only play going forward Dungeons & Dragons on the official Wizards of the Coast VTT, which as of today doesn't exist and nobody has seen anything of since San Diego Comic-Con. So, yeah. So no apps, no computer games, no novels, no graphic novels, no musics, no songs, no dances, no pantomimes, no public performances of Dungeons & Dragons without an okay from Wizards of the Coast. So, hey, Jessica Nagiri, if you want to do a D&D cosplay, you can't anymore because of the OGL. Hey, Critical Role, and here's the one I'm coming up to. That TV show of yours on YouTube that has made so much money, you can't do it anymore. because it uses the OGL. It uses our stuff. That's big. And we're going to get back to that. Deauthorizes the previous OGL. The license state that the OGL 1.0 is no longer authorized license agreement. 1.0A, not 1.0. So 3, 3.5, and everything for like the first couple years falls over 1.0. 1.0A is no longer licensed. So you could still make content for 3, 2, 1, 0, maybe 4th. I'm not sure, because I think 4th falls under a completely different thing. And I think, again, Wizards of the Coast just sort of wants to forget 4th ever happened. So yeah, but basically they're trying to get 5e third-party creators to not make 5e third-party. Now, in the past 72 hours, I have been contacted by third-party 5e creators. The guys, Kevin, who sent me that wonderful stuff about the Vecna Wins 5e stuff that's on DM's Guild that I absolutely love, the alternate history of the Forgotten Realms. He has sent me free stuff to review. Another individual asked me to review their 5e product, and I'm like, I don't know if I can, dude. Until I see the actual official OGL, I don't know if I can review your stuff. I don't know if you should be creating 5e stuff until we know exactly what's going on. So what I'm probably going to do is just not monetize those videos if I do review 5e stuff going forward, and ask instead that you donate to my Ko-Fi if you appreciate what I'm doing, please. It's soon. So apparently the draft says, it's coming out on January 13th, and there's a limited amount of time that you're going to be given to switch over to the new OGL, somewhere between 7 and 30 days, either which is not enough time. 7 days, 7 working days. Ask people as of the 13th, anything that falls under the OGL going all the way back to the origins of the OGL needs to be updated to the new OGL, and you owe us money. Now, the problem with this is Wizards of the Coast made the OGL available for free for 23 years is what I believe it's been for 23 years. So it's 2022. This came out in about 2004. So let's say 20 years, more or less. So in order for Wizards of the Coast to follow through with this, they have to basically say, oh, we didn't know people were using the OGL for the past 23 years. That's why we didn't charge them. That is going to be hard for them to prove. Especially since they made a ton of money off of a certain OGL YouTube production and the product that came out of that certain OGL YouTube production. In fact, a certain OGL YouTube production was the single largest Kickstarter in history so far at $10 million for a television show. You know what I'm talking about. It's Vox Machina. Is Wizards of the Coast going to say, oh, we didn't know about Vox Machina, even though Matt Mercer made product for us and consulted on it for us? Yeah, we didn't know about it. But now, Mercer, you owe us money. Clear OGL declarations. The new license contains other restrictions which effectively prohibit companies from identifying their content via system reference document, like Pathfinder. Instead, the reader must be alerted to the open game license within the content itself. What does this mean? I don't know. So basically they're saying Paizo has their own open game content, but if you want to keep using armor class hit points, stuff like that, you got to say it's ours, which from what I understand, they don't. Now, I am not an attorney. This is not a legal document. I have no clue what I'm talking about. I'm just giving my own personal opinion based upon my experience in the entertainment industry and what I am reading. So do not take anything I say as verbatim. I do not know what this means. Is that? Oh my God, Jim! Hey guys, it's Grim Jim. One of the there's nobody I respect in the industry more than Jim. I know Jim gets a lot of credit, but I love this guy. So Jim says, reviews have established precedent. I don't think they can or would go after you for that. You have to sign up to 1.1 for it to apply to you. So don't. I'm not going to. With stream games, in fact, it's a performance already has precedence. With live streamed computer games, playing is transformative. So yeah, how is this going to affect, as Jim says, Critical Role? Because Critical Role has been live streaming a performance for several years. How is this going to affect cosplayers like Jessica? Because she's been live streaming a performance for several years. Is Critical Role going to have to pay Wizards of the Coast money? Is Wizards of the Coast going to have to claim, oh no, we didn't know Jeannie D was making content using our stuff, but now we're aware of it, so she owes us money? Bigoted. So, I guess you're referring to the PBS thing. Yes, I was going to bring that up too. It's 48 hours before this came out. PBS did the whole thing where Wizards of the Coast D&D is 5e and so inclusive, and all the other games weren't. And the so long history of the hobby has been so awful to everybody except for one specific group. But now 5e, new D&D is welcoming everybody because it's inclusive. Wizards of the Coast response 24 hours later was to leak this and say, no, we're not inclusive. Also, if even 1% of this is true, all that nonsense about 6e being backwards compatible is completely false. Jim says hello. Jim, I love you, buddy. Blah, blah, blah. Any info on the sources of the leak? Are people still speculating that it might have been leaked deliberately by Wizards of the Coast to test the waters? Yes. Yes, they are. And it wouldn't be the first time something like this has been happened in the industry. Wizards of the Coast has done this before. They just did it recently with the whole blah, 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 creative content thingy, the consultants. They tested the waters with the consultants. They said, oh, we have consultants on this product. And then when people called them on them, they said, oh, wait, that was the one they didn't consult on. So, yes, have companies in the past leaked stuff to test the waters and then, a couple of days later released an official statement? Yes, they have. And you notice it's Friday. This information came out late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. So WOTC has had enough time since early Thursday morning to make a response. As of now, 8:37 California time, they haven't yet. And they've been awake for at least an hour. I guess we're probably not going to see an official release till at least Monday or Tuesday. At which point Wizards of the Coast can say, with all honesty and with 100% legal, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, so no, I can't say. Wizards of the Coast can say, oh, we didn't know about that leak. It didn't come from us. It came from an inside source. It's being investigated by our own investigation team. Here is what we intended to say. In fact, I've personally seen that happen way, way, way back when there was union strikes in the industry and leaks were made about what the changes to the contract were going to be made. And then a week, 3 days later, the actual instigators of the contract said, no, that leak is not official. Here's the new contract. This is what we really want to happen. Trollord Games might be ending their support for D&D going forward. You may have heard from someone at Trollord Games. Yes, they are having a huge sale, $10 sale of all their stuff, 5e stuff. All the PDFs are $3 or lower. Go to Trollord Games, buy their stuff. I sent Trollord Games a letter yesterday to see how they're going to respond. I sent a letter to Paizo and a couple other companies that make 5e content to see how they're going to respond. I sent a letter to Kevin, who made the alternate 5e Forgotten Realm stuff. I'm going to send a letter to Ed, and the Eberron guy to see what they're going to do. How's this going to affect them if they're going to, stay on the 5e, 6e bandwagon? And what does this mean for other third-party creators who make stuff using the D20 engine, like Mutants and Masterminds? Will Mutants and Masterminds continue to be able to be published, or are they going to have to make Mutants and Masterminds 6e? We don't know. I don't think so. But, yeah, I'm getting rid of all my Wizards of the Coast stuff. Hey, remember that wonderful stuff that D&D sent me for free the other day? The campaign cases? Well, I'm probably going to give them away. Anyways, yeah, I would say, of course, support the OSR, support third-party creators who make non-5e content. What is this going to happen? I don't know. I leave the speculation to people smarter than me, like this guy. Where were we? Royalties. Here's the other big thing. Creators who make over 7,500. That's, I don't know who makes that much money on third party. Maybe Paizo? Need to pay royalties to WOTC. WOTC does indicate that they might reach out to successful creators for a more custom licensing agreement. Looking at you, Critical Role. Creators are divided into 3 tiers, under 50K, 50K to 75K, or 75K and over. The royalty is 20 to 25% of qualifying revenue, which revenue is in excess of 75K. The term is revenue, not profit. Again, that's legalese that I don't even pretend to understand, but basically, if you make money off of using the D20 engine, you owe us money. And it's maybe backdatable, but how far back does that go? I mean, are they saying anybody who ever made money off of content using the D20 engine that we technically sort of own owes us money? I mean, do the creators of Palace of the Vampire Queen, the very first module for the original OGG D&D, owe them money? I don't think so. Does Paizo owe them money? And finally, of course, does Critical Role owe them money? They want to use Kickstarter. Kickstarter is going to be the preferred platform of their crowdfunded project. So if you want to crowdfund something for 6E or 5E going forward, they prefer that you use Kickstarter. I guess that means they might be thinking about buying Kickstarter, which they'll only charge you the 20% royalty. Now, if you want to crowdfund it on another, site like Backlit, Indigo, or GameFund, then they'll charge you the 25%. Also, there'll be a new logo. Yay. And of course, the reaction from the community so far has been completely negative. Even people who were pro 5e on Monday, like people who were saying, oh, this PBS article is so amazing, you're finally speaking the truth, are going, wait, what? Because Wizards of the Coast is going after the single most important thing, money. They're going after their money. Ryan Dancy has said he doesn't think they can deauthorize the OGL. At least 2 attorneys have been consulted so far. I would say head on over to the RPG Lawyer site to check out his stuff and see what he says on it. Obviously, I don't know. I am not in any position to comment on this. Utterly shuts up. Yes. So I guess the final. Stop flattering me. I'm British. You're always the smartest man in the room, Jim. So I guess, okay, this is a question I've come up with a couple times. Who are the biggest money makers off of the OGL right now? Critical Role, Pathfinder, the Mutants and Masterminds people, Troll Lord Games. But yeah, because it specifically says pantomimes, musicals, performances, if you made a performance that used something that could technically be considered OGL, that falls under the OGL, could they come after you? Let's look at the, let's calm down and look at the relaxing pictures for a moment. Okay. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. I have some personal experience because of working in the entertainment industry for 16 years, growing up in Hollywood, surviving multiple entertainment strikes, dealing with nonprofits and dealing with my own legalese and stuff like that. But I am not an attorney. I am in no way, shape, or form educated enough to make proper commentary on this. I would suggest if you are truly concerned about the legalese of this, you consult the videos that have already been done by attorneys, or you go to the U.S. copyright website, which is absolutely free, and I've provided the link. Things I'm most concerned about as a small-time publisher, well, it doesn't really affect me, because I can just, the few little things I've made, I can just switch over to system agnostic. I don't really use too much of the D20 engine when I'm making my minions on a mission product that is exclusively on Big Geek Emporium. So a great way to support the OGGM, selfish shout out to myself, is to check out my merch at Big Geek Emporium. I've got 10 adventures up so far, and I'll be putting up another one later today or tomorrow using the not OGL. So it doesn't really affect me. It affects people like Troll Lord Games. It affects people like Green Ronin. It affects games like Mutants and Masterminds, probably one of the most successful OGL games that isn't D&D related. I mean, there are OGL games that aren't fantasy. There's tons of them. I know most of us think OGL, Wizards of the Coast, D&D, 5e adjacent, but you got to remember when the OGL came out in 2004, 2005, and the whole 4th edition wars happened, companies like Paizo came out with D20 adjacent games, but there were games like Mutants and Masterminds and Excelsior and hundreds of others that came out that were D20 adjacent. How does this affect them? But more importantly, okay, the argument is that the OGL doesn't state irrevocable, but does state permanently, basically trying to alter what was stated for the benefit of someone aware their 6e is going to be spanked. Yes. So, again, I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's true. It's a precedent, even for programming IP open source litigation. It means you could go back on 30 years of Linux history and start a bunch of lawsuits over implied unrevocable licenses. So I think what you're saying is, can Wizards of the Coast claim they didn't know people were using the OGL for 23 years and now Critical Role, you owe us money? See, this is going to all come back. By revocable, it means that you broke the OGL. It could be revoked for you, not that it could be for everyone. I got to reach out to somebody smarter than me and see if they want to do a video with me, because I know there's lots of questions that I cannot answer. So I'm just going to go to, the number one free advertiser for D&D, Critical Role. Wizards of the Coast would not be where they are now without Critical Role. I think we can all accept that. Critical Role falls under video and pantomime. What are they going to do? I would love to know what they're going to do. In fact, I'm going to send them a letter. How are you going to respond, Matt Mercer, if Wizards of the Coast comes after your money. How are you going to respond, Amazon, if Wizards of the Coast says, if you continue to make Vox Machina, you owe us money? Is Wizards of the Coast going to be able to say, hey, that OGL we made free for the past 20 some odd years, we didn't know people were using it and we're only now aware of it, so you all owe us money? Or they're simply saying, if you want to make 5e content going forward, you need to follow our fascist little rules. If you want to make 5e, 6e content at all, it can only be made under this specific licensing agreement. It can only be posted on our thing. We only want people playing D&D online using D&D Beyond and the virtual tabletop. That doesn't exist. It was a dig against open source in general. Now burning the WOTC working. Yes, Vox Machina could lead to a lawsuit between Hasbro and Amazon. That's an insane can of worms. Yes, could it? I don't know. I wish I knew an attorney, but the only attorney I know moved out of California and hasn't spoken to me since. So I don't know anybody who can speak on this more intelligently than I can, except for maybe Grim Jim. Vox Machina doesn't use any spell names or D&D specific verbiage. The way they describe everything is generic enough for Amazon specifically to be safe. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, Vox Machina / Critical Role was created using Pathfinder and then switched over to D&D. So could they say, hey, you made all this money online playing our game. You constantly said we're a bunch of nerds playing D&D. People donated money to you to watch you play D&D. You now owe us money. I don't know. Yeah, if other open source licenses haven't protected themselves in ways that are more Loctite than D&D's OGL, then this could set a precedent that other open licenses could be busted. I don't know what that means. If anybody is smarter than me and wants to let me interview them about this and has some legal knowledge, please let me know. If not, I would just say 2 lawyers have already been interviewed. Those interviews are both up on YouTube. I will post the links when we're done. I don't know what else to say about this that I haven't already said. I don't think it's going to affect me, but I'm worried about the people who make the content, because talking about that content is my livelihood. And, I need this to make money. So I have to still talk about the content. So, but if you want to support this, there are other ways to support me. Here I am doing some shameless self-promotion pimping. Yes, I assume that they're consulting lawyers. Like I said, I'm sending letters. Obviously, I'm no one, so I don't know if Peso will ever respond. But I'm reaching out as best I can from my small little corner of the TikTok internet. So here's, where I shamelessly pimp myself before we shut off for the day, because I don't know what else to say. If you want us to continue to support the OGGM Adventures and continue to listen to me rattle off about this nonsense, there are several ways you can do this. In regards to when I review one D&D, because I'm going to continue to review that because it's just hilarious. I'm probably just not going to monetize those videos and just ask that you support me through the Ko-Fi. So yeah, check out my merch. It's available on Big Geek Emporium. I have 10 adventures up, link down below. Check out my physical product, my stickers. Yay, stickers. That's a great way to support me. You can support me through the Patreon. You can support me by buying me a coffee through Ko-Fi. I've got super chats on YouTube. You can donate directly to me or my favorite charities and stuff like that. Here we got some more. Peso marketing lead announced on Twitter, his DM are open. All right, I'll send him a thing. Put in orders into Trollord Games. Again, I don't need the product, but I'm going to pick up Lost City of Gaxmore. The OGL has left on its own device for so long that I'm not sure they can brand control it. It's like when Kit Kat tried to sue people for the shape. OGM Adventures, you are welcome to come hang out with us tomorrow on Weekend Geek at 4 p.m. Grim will be there. DM me the link, because remember, I'm on California time, and I will try. I don't know what I can say about it, but I will definitely try. My main concern, again, is not for me. It's for big guys. It's Mutants and Masterminds, Trollord Games, Pathfinder. How's that going to affect them? Because that will trickle down and affect me, since this is basically my job now, and I'm trying to make this a living. I did end up putting up a petition, but it's not going to get much traction coming from me. I'll sign it, Jim. Send me the link. Oh, look, people are donating super chats. Now, I don't know how this actually works, but apparently it'll go to my thing and then thing. Thank you, Green Apple. Thank you, Dark Winter. I appreciate that, of course. As always, support the OGM Adventures, support Small Press Publishing, support Big Geek Emporium, support the Red Room and Retroverse, support Jim. He just has a new product coming out, which I need to get around and buying, because, it's Jim. Blah, blah, blah. Thank you, each and every one of you who have signed on today. If you haven't subscribed to my vlog yet, please subscribe. Links down below. Help me hit 1 billion subs by the end of 2023. Yes, I know it's impossible, but no one's ever done it, so I might as well shoot big. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you never want to hear me talk about this ever again, too bad. I have a feeling it's going to be the main topic of the year. I really have nothing else to say right now because I need to do more research before I can talk about this topic in any level of expertise. So thank you, each and every one of you. Jim, please send me a link to the petition at thegmgrumpy@gmail.com, because I don't know how to change that. And it dates all the way back to the old YouTube channel. Blah, blah, blah. Is Steve around? No, I'll give you a couple of seconds of Steve before he signed off. Thanks to each and every one of you for listening to me rattle off about this nonsense for almost an hour. I appreciate each and every one of you. Talk to y'all soon. I am the OGGM, reminding you on this lovely Friday morning to get off my land.